Good morning, everybody. Jeff Lauder here. We're getting ready to discuss some concealed carry law updates. Huge news. Some of the older cases for concealed carry. The public defender's office here in Orange County has filed a motion to dismiss, and that's been granted. So huge win there. And then a lot of attorneys, myself included, are hopping on that. I got a couple cases that will hopefully work with that. And so I want to review what that law is. And what it has to deal with is the retroactivity of the new concealed carry laws. So we know we're permitless carry now. And so now I have a couple clients who were charged with a felony for possession of a concealed firearm back in 2022. And so they're facing this new charge here right now. But under the new law, they haven't violated anything. So now I have the guy's a former accountant. No, I'm sorry, not accountant. He's a realtor, and had a stroke, had some medical problems, and he got stuck on the side of the road. Anyways, bottom line is he got detained by the police, and his car broke down, and so he had to he pulled his gun out of the car and walk up the road to get help. He didn't want to leave his gun in the car abandoned. And he ended up catching a felony charge. He's never been no criminal history at all. And so we're trying to get that case dismissed. He's qualifies for a pretrial diversion, but I mean, under the new law, he shouldn't have anything. There's no violation there. And so the question becomes, is the new law retroactive to prior to July 1st? And we're going to get into that. So, hey, welcome. We got several people joining in. Let me know where you're coming from. I got Rex down here, my dog. He's eating a bone, so I can hear it definitely, but I don't know if that's getting picked up on the microphone. If that's too much of a distraction, let me know, and then I'll get him out of here. So we're going to discuss CCW law here in a moment. Just want to give a few people a chance to discuss and talk and open up the conversation. Let me know where you're coming from. What else do we have on the agenda today? So I really want to talk, as well as the CCW stuff, I want to talk about the militarization of the police. We've kind of gone down that road. If you've been on the past couple live streams, we've talked about the officer from Orlando Police Department that was fleeing and eluding. You know, what does that suggest? He was on his way to SWAT tryouts, or not SWAT tryouts, to SWAT training. I'm not sure if you're aware. I guess I haven't done a live stream and talked about this yet, but this past week I was interviewed by the local media and about some nonsense that's not really important, but during that conversation, the news anchor, who's an investigative reporter for one of the local channels here in Orlando, she and I got to talking, and we were talking about this case of the Orlando officer. I think she said he was fired, but I haven't seen that anywhere else. But that maybe she has inside knowledge. But in any event, it turns out he was on his way to SWAT training when he fled from the Seminole County Sheriff's Office. So, anyways, let's see here. What else we got going on? We also, so I have that video up and running. If you guys got questions, you want to talk about that at all, we can discuss that here in a few minutes. Once I finish laying out the goal of the live stream, then we'll jump into that motion to dismiss done by the sheriff's, or done by the public defender's office. So what else? We also have the shooting. You know, we had Orlando, had the unfortunate shooting of the unarmed man downtown from the traffic stop. We reviewed that body camera footage. We overlaid that. I have that up. Actually, I don't think I have it up and running, but I'm going to pull it up right now as we're talking about it, because I want to have that up and running in case any questions pop up. I think those two stories link together. All right, there it is right there. Stand by. I'll share the screen so you can see what I'm looking at. So I think these two stories really link together, the two officers. And I'm really not trying to crap on either of these officers from this standpoint here today. What's done is done. And I would imagine that when they first started their career in law enforcement, they had the best of intentions. Hey, good morning, Doc. Somewhere along the way, they both went astray. If you see it, this guy from Seminole County going the wrong direction with fleeing from the police, thinking he's above the law. And then the one I have is the downtown officer. That the question there, I pulled up all of their their criminal filings and traffic tickets they wrote over the past year since the beginning of the year. So I think I shared within the last live stream all the dispositions and closed cases. So instead of just looking at the closed cases, I looked at all their cases. And we have a couple extremes in law enforcement. We have the law enforcement that, you know, I don't write any traffic tickets. I only go after the bad element. You know, it's that I stand the line type of position. And these law enforcement officers say, hey, if you want me to be the aggressive police officer and you want me to focus on bad guys with guns that are a threat to society, that are causing problems and mayhem in the streets, then I need to be as tactically sound as possible. And I get that argument. So on the other extreme of that, we have, okay, if you don't want that, what do you want? You want Mr. Rogers policing you? You know, you want somebody just technical violation of the law and they're focusing on like speeding tickets for 7 miles over the speed limit and 10 miles over the speed limit. And, you know, every time you turn around, you're getting cited for improper parking or just some nonsense. You know, we have two extremes with law enforcement, and, you know, both of these officers that they represent the extreme of I only go after bad guys. You know, I'd venture to say that there's not many complaints against officer. I can't remember the name of Les. Whatever this officer is, maybe even this entire team, from like upstanding citizens. Like, not to say this guy was killed, wasn't upstanding, but they're trying to interact with a criminal element. So they're generally not interacting with soccer mom and soccer dad. And so there's not a lot of complaints registered to them. And they don't hit the radar of the general public that's driving down the street. Because in their mind, they're going after a Jack Bauer type lifestyle. So, you know, where do we sit with that? Do we want that? So anyways, all right, well, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. I've got that available if you guys want to review that. There was one open question I think we left with this, and it's when the officer pulls something out of his hands. Like the officer just took something out of his hands, and that gets thrown later on in the investigation. Somebody throws it. So, but anyways, we're not going to stick with this. If you have questions on it, we can do it. No victim, no crime. Night shift, Bear. Yeah, I agree with that. Not 100%. Let me take this off the screen. No victim, no crime. You know, that becomes really difficult to draw a line there. I'm very much on that side of it, but I certainly think there's crimes that, you know, may not, where the state of Florida could be the victim. So anyways, yeah, that's definitely, we go after these people. It's so insane. Like the IRS auditors that were testifying before Congress recently about Biden, you know, one of them is a gay Democrat. So he checks all the boxes that would be required for the left, you know, the left would normally exclude someone. And he intentionally said that he was placed in that position so they would hide some of the evidence. And so all these high level officials and the people in power are using their positions of power, and they have this idea of no victim, no crime for themselves. And yet they'll enforce all these rules and regulations upon us. And hey, they don't even say no victim, no crime, because there's definitely some crimes or some victims with regard to what these politicians are doing. So, all right, well, let's shift gears here. Let me switch over and share a screen here with you guys with this motion to dismiss, because I think that's kind of the core of what I wanted to go over today. Entire screen, window, here we go. So let me go down to the bottom first to give props where they're due, because this is the public defender's office that did this work under Robert Wesley. That's the attorney of record. So to speak briefly about that, man, the public attorneys, the state attorney's office and the public defender's office have some heavy hitter attorneys, just some great attorneys that are doing awesome public work on both sides of the equation. Public defenders often get a really bad rap but it's very much unjustified for the most part. If you're charged with a low-level offense like a DUI or a simple battery, maybe even a domestic battery, I don't know you want to go to the public defender's office because those attorneys have only probably been there and doing it for a year or so. But if you're charged with a serious offense and you got a 20-year or 15-year board certified public defender, man, I don't know. I don't know that's too much of a problem. They have the trial experience. They often know it. They're badass. And so huge shout out to the public defender's office out there. And those low level folks, they work up fast. And when you're taking on such a heavy caseload, working for the state of Florida, you get all those reps and all that experience in, and you can't match that in the private sector. So good for you guys out there getting it done. And if you got a public defender, that's nothing to be ashamed of. I think we've kept their name up on the screen long enough, though. So I appreciate it, Katie. Thank you for the hard work you put into it. Okay, so this is the motion to dismiss. Let me cycle back and review what we're discussing here. So this is a concealed carry charge from 2022 before the law changed. And what happened is that after the law, some of you guys join in. I got the dog over here chewing on a bone. And so if you hear that on the microphone, let me know. I'll kick the dog out. But I'm in the office right now and I brought the dog with me. So anyways, so the general rule has always been that if a new statute is enacted and it's a criminal statute, that it doesn't backwards apply. It does not by default have retrograde. It doesn't apply retroactively, not retrograde, retroactively. And in 2018 or 2019, that entire premise of whether criminal laws are retroactive or not was shifted on its head. And I tell you the truth, I really wasn't even aware of it. My default position was still along the lines of the old way of thought, the pre-2019 shift. I was still thinking about it in that way. And so I'm really glad we have this, that Katie was cutting edge here and she jumped forward on this, because in 2019, the legislature amended the statute that, I don't see if it's mentioned in here. 775.002 to address the lack of instruction on how amendments to criminal statutes should be applied. So in 2019, the Florida legislature amended the statute and said, if a criminal statute is amended so the punishment is less than what it was previously, then the new law applies. And so that's a little bit difficult of an interpretation because, well, it's not that the law is less now because it hasn't been reduced. It's been eliminated. So it used to be a felony of the third degree to carry a firearm concealed on your person if you were a regular citizen without a concealed carry permit. And so now it is zero. There is no penalty at all because you're not violating the law. And because the penalty is reduced, that means, according to the statute, 775.22. Let's pull that up, see if we can't see it. Florida State Statute 775.022. All right, here we go. Let me switch over the screen share. Stop screen share, present. So here's the statute. General penalties and registration of criminals. And you'll see this statute was created in 2019. If you look down at the bottom of any Florida statute, if there's been multiple updates, it'll just go over, and the oldest one is the one that was first created. Okay, effect or reenactment or amendment of criminal statutes. It is intended of the legislator. This section provides a doctrine of abatement to reenactment or amendment of criminal statutes. What is it saying here? So, except as expressly provided in an act of legislator. So, if the legislator says, hey, this goes into effect on such and such date and it applies retroactively. So, if it says that, then that applies. But if it doesn't say that, if the new law is silent, which we have here, the new law is silent as to retrograde retroactivity. I keep saying that wrong. So, except as expressly provided in an act of legislator or as provided in subsection 4 and subsection 5, the reenactment or amendment of a criminal statute operates prospectively and does not affect or abate any of the following. So prospectively is it only looks forward. So the default position is that it only looks forward. So A, the prior operation of the statute or a prosecution or enforced thereunder. B, violation statute. Okay, we don't want to get there. Where does it say? C, a prior penalty or forfeiture or punishment occurred under the statute. 4. Oh, here it is. If a penalty, forfeiture, or punishment for a violation of criminal statute is reduced by a reenactment or amendment of a criminal statute, the penalty or punishment, if not already imposed, must be imposed according to the statute as amended. So, my client was charged with carrying concealed firearm under the old law. That was a third-degree felony. Under the new law, it's 0 penalty. So, therefore, this subsection applies. And I believe that we now have to apply retroactively. So, that's how we're getting there. Any thoughts on that? Any questions? Got a few guys listening in. I know we got some smart people in the room. Let me go back to this motion to dismiss. So that's the statute that this is based off of. Here is the motion again. Okay, so it's just kind of reviewing that the motion is. This year, the Florida legislature changed the law for carrying concealed weapons. So from 1885 until 2018, the Florida Constitution included a savings clause which controlled how amendments to criminal statutes would be applied. It read, shall not affect the prosecution or punishment of any crime previously committed. So that's what it was. It used to say shall not affect. So it was always forward-looking only. Florida's Constitution Revision Commission convenes to propose a change to Florida Constitution, which was then voted by the floors in that year's election, 2018. They removed the savings clause. The clause reviewed. Anyways, they modified the statute in 2019 after the change. Hey, quiet. This year, the Florida's legislature changed the law for carrying concealed weapons, so we know all that. Lists out all those exceptions. This defendant here qualifies under the new concealed carry law and was arrested. So this is now this lays it out, just applying it. I don't know if you know this. That's how legal arguments work. So that's how they teach you how to write legally. So you present the law, what's your basis for it. Then you present your fact pattern, and then you combine them in section 3, the law with the fact pattern. So that's what we have here is they're arguing the law and the arguments with this person. So I don't think we need to go over that detailed. They combine this with the holding in Dean, which talked about it. So they've just specified that it has to be a rearward looking, or if it was downward amended. And I think where Dean was, Dean is the case on point. It's not a concealed carry case. Dean was a theft case. And the law, I don't know what year it was, maybe like 2015 or something like that. But anyway, several years ago, the law changed where theft went from $300 to be a felony to $750. So it used to be like if you stole something, stole a lawnmower out of the front yard, it was valued at $299, then that's a misdemeanor. And if it was over 301, then it would be a felony. Well, though that dollar value got bumped up in 2015 or whatever that amendment was, and then Dean answered the question of does that apply retroactively or not. So maybe I got the years wrong in there, but that's generally what it argues. And that was the 5th District Court of Appeals. So that's based out of Orlando. So that's 5th District's out of Central Florida. And I'm not sure if you're aware or not. While we're here, I'll go to it and show you a website. This is the website I'm pulling up right now is called the e-filing portal. There's no real secret sauce to it, but this is how attorneys introduce documents to the court system. And so if I have a case, like if you hired me on a case today, you got a traffic ticket or arrested or something like that, a DUI, then, you hire me on your case, I would come into here and we can pick which county that you were arrested in the state of Florida. And then, make sure I'm sharing the screen right. I'm talking like I'm sharing it, but I don't know that I am. Oh, no, I'm not. So it didn't pop through. Give me 1 second. Sorry about that, guys. So that was the baseline website I was just showing you. But once you sign in, you can file in. You pick which county you're going to go to. I'm based out of Orange County. So then you would file documents on existing cases. And you'll see the color scheme on here. This is the different district courts of appeal. And until this year, it's not even up and running yet. It's in the process of it. But until this year, Orange County has been in the 5th District Court of Appeal. So it would have this ugly yellow color. But right now, they're actually in the process of creating a 6th District Court of Appeals, which will include all of these colors. And they're appointing judges out of there right now. So it kind of looks like Orange County is probably going to be the flagship of those. All these are really smaller counties in population, I believe. Not too excited about being lumped in with Polk County and good old Grady Judd, but oh well, it is what it is. So, okay, so that's that. So we talked about the 5th District Court of Appeal. Let's go back to this motion. Sorry for all the flipping back and forth here. Window, I want this one. Oh, that's not what I wanted to share, I don't think. Stop sharing. Present, screen share, window, here it is. Okay, I got some questions here. So Sean says, not attorney, I just believe the law should be out there just for us to able to carry. Should have never been the law not to carry. Well, the Florida, not the Florida Supreme Court, the U.S. Supreme Court is making some huge changes right now. And the impacts of these rulings, Sean, are far reaching. Jerry Jenkins, who's been on this channel before, he's actually in my office. I sublease an office from him. Great attorney, military veteran, and 2A advocate. He primarily does personal injury. But anyways, I forgot what was. He's filed a motion to dismiss very related to this for a juvenile who was convicted as a delinquent of some felony charges. But the way the juvenile system works is you're never really convicted as a juvenile. So he's filing to say that this juvenile should have their rights restored under the new law because it wasn't a violation or something along those lines. I don't know. But it's opened up a lot of doors for us to fight. So I don't know, though, where I sit with. So the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So I don't know if that means the government can't control that you have the right to bear arms, but they control the type of arms you can bear. Shall not be infringed seems to be a lot more inclusive language than simply, that they. Let me phrase this. So I think Joe Biden would argue that the right to bear arms shall not be infringed means that you have the right to control or have a gun, bear one arm or multiple arms of the same type. I think that's how he would kind of look at it. But as long as you had access to one gun or one gun type, or maybe two or a limited number of gun types, they could regulate everything else. So you only get your shotgun, and therefore you've met the constitutional threshold of they're protecting your right to bear arms, because you can bear an arm. And that I don't know, the court's not interpreted that way, so thank God. But where do you draw the lines there too? If you use the word arms into like Google, you really talk about small arms represents like rifles and hand carried weapons. But we talk about arms deals, we're talking about governments providing weapons to other governments. And so when you use that word arms, to me, that implies something bigger than just AR-15s, muskets, or shotguns. That seems to me to imply something, a lot bigger. I don't know there, but I think there has to be lines there. So I don't know where I sit. I think that we need people that can affect their sphere of influence. And what I can do is, I know Florida gun law. So I can teach and advocate that we have responsible citizens understanding and learning Florida gun law so that we can stand up for our Second Amendment rights properly and with confidence, and that we can defend our neighbors with confidence. We don't need vigilantes, that's for sure, but we definitely need confident men and women that know the law. So, yeah. Sean, you want tanks and howitzers? Florida should become an open carry state. I don't know about that. I'm not sold on open carry one way or another. I don't really have an opinion on it. I don't think that I would open carry. I guess I open carry a lot as a police officer. Like going to training, I carried openly, I don't know, several times a week. And I generally would put it in wearing a polo, or put something, a polo over top of it, but I carried it on my hip, usually a Glock 26. So it didn't bother me to open carry, but I always felt like I had a target on my back, and I wouldn't want to put that target on my back as a regular citizen. So that's kind of my personal deal with open carry, that why I wouldn't want to do it. I also don't know if the public is ready for it. So not that matters, screw the public, we can get them used to it. But I don't know. So anyway, so my 2 cents, Sean, what did he say? Open carry makes you the first target. Yeah. I agree with that 100%. And, when I left law enforcement, there's several problems I had emotionally and medically. Nothing bad, nothing crazy. But, one was, as a law enforcement officer, I always took charge of the scenario, or took charge of the scene. And that was a mindset shift. And it took about 3 months for me to start really winding down from law enforcement and getting off that thought process, and of taking charge of everything and trying to solve everybody's problems and being the fixer. And so for 5 years after I got out of law enforcement, I didn't carry a gun, because for a year I started already like carrying a gun wasn't a problem. But I realized that, wow, this is still weighing heavy on me. And in order for me to break this, mental cycle of, I'm a law enforcement officer, take charge, I need to put myself more in a sheep, or, I don't want to say sheep, but I want to put myself more at a stand back position. And a way to do that for sure is to certainly to unarm yourself. I felt kind of at home with a gun with me, had a gun with me all the time for, 10, 12 years. And so that first few months or several months of going without a gun was a little bit strange. But now, COVID got me carrying again. They started ripping the toilet paper off the shelf. I was like, oh, hell no, I need my gun with me. So I'm carrying again now. Went back to NRA firearms instructor school. I've done several years on tactical teams. So I've got the experience, been involved in a couple of shootings. I don't have a wide range of experience with like guns and selling the different types of models. I had 5 or 6 guns in my law enforcement career, different positions I had, whether I had, a submachine gun, or whether I had my AR, or whether I had a breech and shotgun or a Benelli, so depending on the platforms I had, there was only 5 or 6 of them. I got to know those platforms very, very well, and so I'm an advocate from that standpoint, but I mean, you don't really see me, geeking out at the gun gadget store and gun lights and all that stuff. So anyway, that's a really good point though. I carried I had fully auto weapons. I guess military had that. We didn't take weapons home in the military, but when I was in SRT, we carried UMPs. So fully auto 45s. And then we had, when I left there at FHP, we had the HK MP5s as well as fully auto M16A1s. So those were 10-inch barrels. So that was pretty cool. I got to have both access to both those. I carried a 10-inch barrel AR-15 home with me, fully auto. I had that with me at all times, trunk of the car. So that was really cool. I got big into, I had a bug out bag with me at all times in the car, ready to bail out for just about anything we could run into. And I was ready to take on the world. So, but I was also a traffic cop because I was a state trooper at that point in time. And so a lot of my interactions, a vast majority of my interactions, were dealing with mom and pop citizens and, everyday people driving down the road. And probably only like 5 or 10% of my interactions were dealing with, hardened criminals. So the Highway Patrol, they would kind of default towards wanting, they'd rather have 5 traffic tickets than they would a, 1 felony arrest, because the felony arrest is associated with more chance of violence and more risk, and the 5 tickets kind of the mission. And so, I wasn't really down with that. I was more on the criminal side. And as a matter of fact, that's kind of why I found my way to the DUI unit. I was on DUI and their tactical team. And I kind of found my way there just as a default because I wanted to go after that criminal element and not mess around with, the 9 to 5 people going to work. Well, it turns out half the people I was arresting in the DUI unit were 9 to 5 people going to work, just partying on the weekends. So anyway, let's look at some of these questions or comments we got here. So we got Booger Dog. To open carry would be, let's see. To open carry would be a personal constitutional choice, irrespective of being targeted. But politically, the Florida Senate is primarily rhino bullshittist, so open carry will likely never happen. I don't know if I agree with that. We have a progression of laws in the state of Florida. It's not like, we have one and done. I think this is a huge step in the right direction. And we have Texas right now doing it. I think there's 26 different states that have passed some form of permitless carry or constitutional carry. And so that's how this, the United States is formed. It's a testing bed. And so the states should be enacting these different laws. I'm fine with those restrictive states. They can test it out. And we should see a clear difference now, or we should see if there's any difference at all. And if there's no difference over the next course of the 5, 6, 10 years between guns or states with all open carry, all, permitless carry and constitutional carry, and the more liberal states, I hate to use that word because I consider myself liberal. I mean, liberal states from like, not from a liberty standpoint, liberal states from a politically liberal states where they have strict gun laws, and then after a period of time, after testing this out in the incubator of the United States, the one nation, we can see what works and what rises to the top. And from that point forward, states can make better laws and adopt what Florida has and Texas has and modify that into something new that is better. And it should be a continual progression there. So, but we are not heading there. And a lot of that's probably, our own fault, because, shame on me and shame on probably you too for not being knowledgeable in Florida gun law before. Maybe if you're watching this live stream, hell, maybe you're very knowledgeable in it. But, I didn't really learn Florida gun law until I started watching people like, what's his name? What's that? The Armed Fisherman. He's a guy down in Florida doing the open carry audits. So I was teaching out at the police academy, and, I've had this YouTube channel for a long time, years. And so I was teaching out at the police academy, and, that came up somehow connected, or somebody linked a video, and I started seeing this like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. These guys are totally legal. These police officers don't understand in this exception of the law, and therefore they're going to be involved in a shooting. And I don't want any of the guys that I'm teaching at the academy to be that guy. And one of the sections that I taught in the academy was the section on, it's a legal section. So I try to teach three separate parts. In the second week of the academy, so very early on, there's a legal block that's 2 weeks long. And that goes over everything like government 101 all the way up to like search and seizure laws. And in there, it talks about the Second Amendment. And so firearms law comes up in that legal block. Well, that legal block is in the second week of the academy, third week of the academy. And if you remember, like if you've ever been to basic training or ever been to any like strict new environment, you don't learn in those early days. You're walking around lost. So now we're teaching the legal principles that are the bedrock for these officers' success in the very early stages when their brain's not adapted to the academy yet. And we get through it. But the gun law section on there was literally 1 page, half a page. It didn't even talk about it. It just literally said like concealed carry without a permit is illegal. That's what the instruction was. It's a felony. And so there was no discussion on any of the exceptions, no discussion on anything regarding concealed carry. I never got any training as a police officer on it either. So my default as a police officer, both as a state trooper and as a deputy, was, hey, if you got a concealed carry permit, you're kind of golden. Like you can't do anything wrong. I knew the exception about like not going into the establishment where alcohol was predominantly served, or the areas established where alcohol is predominantly served. But for the most part, if you had a concealed carry permit, you're good. And I remember one time I arrested a guy for DUI. This is down in South OBT, down in Hunters Creek area. And so South Orlando. And I guess I must have been with the sheriff's office, not FHP, but in any event, no matter what or where I was at, he slammed on his brakes and stopped abruptly, and a firearm, a little pistol, slid out from underneath his seat and then was laying in the floorboard of the passenger seat. Not in a holster. I don't remember whether it was loaded or not. I think it was. But I took a photograph of it. I have the photograph somewhere. Maybe I'll go through and find that. I've seen it in the past 6 months. But so I took a photograph of this firearm, and then I charged him with that as well. And I can't remember whether I charged him. It had to be carry concealed firearm without a permit. But that's probably not the right charge there. And the right charge there probably would have been, the violation of having the 790.025, not having it securely cased or readily accessible, which I think would be a misdemeanor version. Well, I was kind of flabbergasted when the state attorney's office dropped the charges on a carry concealed case like that. And, I pointed the finger at lazy prosecutors, but I don't know that it was, I don't know it was lazy prosecutor. I think it was kind of maybe shoddy police work. So what you got, Sean? Sean says, I've carried since I was 21, personal weapon. Yeah. Oh, so you're in the Army? Good deal, man. Thank you for your service. So my father was a troop for 25 years, carried 357. Yeah, 12 gauge. So yeah, if you're carrying 357, you're carrying a revolver, you're probably in the day prior to law enforcement becoming more tactical. Cool. So let's see. Do you see signage laws changing in Florida? I guess I don't know what that means. What are you talking about? Are you talking about like signage laws with regards to like people like in businesses? I don't know. Go through a couple more of these questions. Doc, what we got here? So I'm for Texas, never open carry. Didn't see many who did. Yeah, I'd be interested in that if we got any people from Texas that watch in or been there recently. Did you guys see open carry much? Oh, I got to refill my coffee. Give me a second. And I'm going to jump off here in a few minutes. We're going on 40 minutes. I like to keep these around 30 minutes. And I'm really working to get this more organized, a structure. One of the things I wanted to discuss today that we didn't get a chance to is I've pulled all of the arrests for carrying a concealed firearm in Orange County. It's one of the things I pulled up. Maybe I can pull it up right now and share the screen with you. Where did I save it at? It's so cool. No, I don't think anybody else does this, or nobody else has put it together. But I track all the charges from every officer. Oh, it's taking forever to load. I need a better computer. Okay, let me share the screen here. Oh, I want to switch this over real quick to make sure I got concealed carry only. All right, I'm not gonna be able to do that today. I'm not gonna jump into that. It's a whole other thing, and I don't want to distract you guys. I want to hang out with you guys some more. So I will tell you though, what I did was I pulled all the concealed carry of firearms charges, all the firearms charges really. The only ones I've excluded is concealed carry by convicted felon or convicted delinquent. So I've got, there was a charge in there for an adult provided a minor with a firearm. There was several charges with carrying a concealed firearm. There was several charges carrying a concealed weapon, unlawful discharge, improper exhibition. So there's several things that are interesting to review with that. And I'm sure you'd like to review it right now, but here's the problem. The cases are all new. So they're only 22 days old and most of them are felonies. The police reports on the back end haven't been unlocked yet. So I can see all the cases. I can see all the arresting officers. I can see all the arresting agencies. I can see the race. I can see the gender. I can see the name. I can see everything like that, but I can't pull up the police report. And so I think I'm going to save that review until we start unlocking some of these police reports. I was hoping to have it done today, and that was going to be part of my thing that I discussed. And so I think going forward, what we'll do is once those start unlocking is just as part of this live stream, we'll review the current week's cases. I know I picked up here recently carrying a concealed firearm in the airport. He got charged with a $5,000 fine. Not sure if you're aware of that. That exists, but that's a federal government thing. So he wasn't arrested. They took his gun from him. We're trying to get that back. And then I think I shared in the live stream too. I don't know if you joined me, but for that one, but I got popped carrying my firearm into the courthouse. So that was not a good experience. It turned out great, where nothing really came of it, but that was a really irresponsible move on my part. And, I went through it, why it happened, all that stuff in the live stream. But there's certainly situations where you might find yourself being otherwise a justified legal citizen that now you're interacting with law enforcement on the bad side of it. And so part of this channel, we can review that and keep up to date to verify that we're on the right side of the law. Then that'll be good. Anyways, well, I'm going to hop off here. What do we got? Let's go through a couple more questions. God bless for sure. Thank you. Let's see. Businesses with no. There we go. Here we go. Here's that question you had. Businesses with no gun sign generally don't pull much weight. Do you see that changing? So, I guess the question is a no guns allowed sign enforceable? And I think the answer to that is clear no. So it's not enforceable from the standpoint of you can't be arrested. A gun, the supremacy clause and the what's the term I guess it's supremacy clause. So when the state legislature enacted the Florida gun laws, they said that that the state legislature is going to control all gun laws. So there is no situation that a county or a city or a private business can have a local law that would violate Florida state law because the legislature didn't allow for that. Some situations you can have laws that butt up to each other, or you can have subordinate laws, like maybe a noise ordinance violation where the state law says one thing, but the city law says something different. That's not the case with Florida gun law. Florida gun law, the state legislature controls everything. So the legal enforceability of a gun-free gun-free business is not there. Now, what a business owner could do is, if they know you're armed, they could trespass you, or they could put their own limits on that. Hey, we don't allow firearms in here inside the store. It's a private business. They can do what they want, but that's not enforceable from a signage standpoint. So, hey, if you got more questions on that aspect of it, leave a more detailed question in the comments again. And what I'll do is I'm going to have I got several attorneys lined up that I just like having conversations with, the roundtable things, and I'll put that on there as a discussion question that we can hit up, maybe roundtable that. So let me go through this. So times were different when he was a troop. Yeah, so definitely times. Yeah, times were different. Yeah, that revolver. Is it legal to carry a fanny pack? And is it legal to pocket carry without a holster in Florida? So is it legal to concealed carry with a fanny pack? So Florida's a permitless carry. It has to be concealed. So as long as your fanny pack is concealing the firearm, then I would say yes. There's no requirement for securely encased on your person. So sorry, I should put that question up there. Get a little bit better at these live streams as I get better. Hope to get some more structure and be more clear. Hopefully answered my question. I think that was your question. Been involved in Florida GOP politics at national level 3 decades, has zero chance of happening. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not challenging you there. Well, let me show the comment. I'm not involved in politics at all, so I'm not challenging you there. But I just know that Stand Your Ground has a progression, where it progressed from 2005 to 2015. It jumped. So I don't know. I'll default to your expertise. Does the courthouse any type of gun lock? Put your firearm? Yeah, your car. So in law enforcement, when you'd go to places that didn't allow guns, like the jail or the DUI center, or in I guess where else? I guess that's about it. I had to take off my gun. But they would have little wall lockers with a key, and you take your gun off and you put your gun inside the wall locker, and then you put your car keys inside the wall locker too. So that way, when you're getting ready to leave, in order to get into your car, you've got to grab your gun. Plenty of times I've rolled out of the jail or out of the DUI center and didn't have my gun with me. So yeah, so under Florida statute, while hunting, camera fishing. Yeah, so he's talking about the exceptions here. I get that. Open carry is legal there. I'm not so sure I understand or I agree 100% with the side trips thing. I think that's open for interpretation there. Obviously, you can't be using that as an excuse, but I think if you put a fishing pole in your backpack, you stop by 7-Eleven and get some bait, I don't know that's a problem. So anyways, all right, guys. Well, I'm going to wrap it up. Had a good time hanging out with you. Once again, hoping to improve this live stream over time. 8:30 is when I'm generally going on. I want to get a little bit earlier than that, but what happens is I try to get up in the morning. I go running, hit up, about 4 miles today, and get the dog outside, get some exercise. And in order to do that, that puts me a little bit delayed. So, all right, let's see. One last question from Fred here. My understanding with the people who do not have a license, they can't carry on their person in a pharmacy, in a car, 1,000 feet from school. Is correct? Yeah. I don't know about the pharmacy. I do remember some law about pharmacy, but I don't remember exactly what that is. So if you have that as if you have that law cited, or if that's mentioned somewhere, then let me know in the comments and I'll look through this later on. People who don't have a license, that school zone. Yeah, that school zone law is a problem. No, it's not a problem, because I don't think anybody's going to get in trouble for it. I don't think we're going to see anybody arrested. It's a problem from the standpoint that we have laws on the books that could screw us over, that we're not getting screwed over for, but the only reason we're not getting screwed over is just by luck. And that any given day, a switch could flip, and now we have, being arrested for something that we otherwise consider legal. So that's my concern with the school law. I don't think it's an immediate concern. I think more of it's a long systemic problem. I've had some people discuss with the Florida gun law and leave comments in the video I did on that that it's a federal law and that federal law enforcement would have to enforce it. One, I don't know if I 100% agree with that. That's close enough, though, so I'm not going to pick my bone there. But I do have a bone to pick with it. And the bone to pick with it is that in Florida law, Florida statute says that one of the places you can't carry is any place prohibited by federal law. So if you're violating that 1,000-foot within a school provision, you are violating federal law. And even if federal law enforcement officials couldn't arrest you or weren't there to arrest you, and state officials didn't arrest you under the federal law, the state officials could arrest you. And by state, I just mean local cops, either a city or a state trooper or FDLE or Orange County Sheriff's Office or whatever. But if you're in a situation where you're pulled over in that school zone, they don't have to cite federal law. They can cite the state law, which points to the federal law. So, yeah, it gets confusing. And I wish we could clean that up. And what was your name? So Booger Dog said he spent some time in politics, and he thinks that open carry will never be a thing, and that may be the case. It may be right there. I'm not disputing that, but I'd really hope that the GOP, which I have no faith in, but anyways, I really hope the legislatures in the state of Florida can get some of these details worked out so we have a clean pathway to law. We know what's legal and what's not. So, all right, guys, that being said, we're going on 53 minutes. I appreciate it. Hit it hard.